G'day, legends. Welcome to the Pot Noodle on Celtic Down Under. I'm your host, Jared, and joining me, as always, is Shane. How you going, Shane?
I'm good, mate. As good as you can be after the result last night, that's for sure. But no, in all seriousness, all right, mate. Had a good weekend catching up with some family and friends, and we've got Oasis in town later this week, which I'm looking forward to. So things are looking up. Just need the East End of Glasgow to Port to wait.
Yeah, you got Oasis later this week. I've got Metallica the following week. You can't complain. It's all happening down here. So, yeah, good fun. I think what we'll do is we'll start off on a bit of a positive light. It's getting towards the end of the month, so just wanted to shout out Shane and Liam in particular for the 1 Foot Forward fundraiser the boys have been doing for the Black Dog Institute, which is a mental health awareness thing that we do as our fundraiser this year. Like, I think we had like more people injured this year that couldn't take part than actually could. So it's been a bit of a an odd one for us. But yeah, appreciate your effort, Shane, and also for Liam. And yeah, anyone, if you can, you got a couple of dollars, a few little dollary dues to use the Australian lingo from The Simpsons that you can donate. We'll get Shane to share the link afterwards in the comments on the pod, and yeah, just jump on there and do what you can. So yeah, I think bit of a doozy. Really, there's three main talking points for us as we discussed, but each of them are going to unpack and go for a while. So we'll start off with the main one. Want to get as many of your comments in as well. So during the show, but yeah, we got Celtic versus Hearts. So on that one, Shane, I wasn't expecting the best going into it, even though we picked up the win against Sturm Graz. So I was like, I said on Thursday's pod that I didn't expect us to win that game anyway. So being honest, so that's what I was expecting. And they come out of the Europa League game with, three first team players injured on top of what we've currently got going on, the lack of squad depth. Yeah, that just made yesterday's result even more obvious, like how poor it was. So like we started with a lineup of Casper Schmeichel, Kieran Tierney, Dane Murray, Colby Donovan, and Liam Scales across the back, and that's in the most awkward order ever. The one thing I did like was there was three academy graduates in the back line going into the game, right? I will give credit as due. We all love seeing one of our own come through, and our academy's been absolute dog's breakfast for the last 15, 20 years, let's be honest. So seeing three guys starting was good, but we'll get into that a little bit later on, what I was going to say next. But then the rest of the lineup was the midfield of McGregor, Engels, Atade. That's what we've been wanting the majority of the season. That was a main one from last year in the Champions League. And then up front, you had, what was it, Nigrin, Tenecti, and Johnny Kenny starting. So, yeah, a bit of a weird looking lineup. So, what was your thoughts coming into the game, Shane?
Well, I was actually quietly confident, and that quiet confidence was growing throughout the day. And I'll go into on a little bit of a tangent as to why. So it's pretty rare in the league, at least, where our backs are against the wall. Let's be honest with you. It's pretty rare to be like that. This was one of those occasions. And the more I thought about it, and the more I overthought about it, because it's what I do, I was genuinely of the thought that Brendan could produce that kind of back to the wall performance and come out there and get a really decent result at Tynecastle. And it didn't unfold that way. If anything, it was a result that kind of confirmed why our backs are to the wall, to be honest with you. So, yeah, look, going into the game, I was quite confident. When I saw the starting lineup, I was a little bit nervous with both Murray and Donovan being in together. No, not necessarily a slight on them individually, but we're going to Tynecastle. They're top of the league. They're managed by Derek McInnes. If they win, they go 8 points ahead. We know every trip to Tynecastle is a battle. It's pretty fierce. I was just a little bit concerned about bringing two young guys in who haven't had an awful lot of experience, particularly in this environment and these kind of fixtures, coming in and having to perform in that environment. And unfortunately, I think it came to pass that the occasion probably got the better of them.
And that was what my concern was. Like, I looked at that lineup and thought, yep, three homegrown players, fine. Donovan, I like the look of him. Dane Murray, from what I've seen, I think he's a good fourth string centre back for us to have, which is what he should be, right? So I think those guys, good. But what I was getting thinking about earlier, and I touched on before throwing to you, was I love seeing these players come through. But the issue you just said there as well is you're going away at Tynecastle. That's a cauldron. The crowd is on top of you. It's a smallish field compared to Celtic Park. The crowd's on top of you. It's always a tough environment anyway. And then to go from that to have two guys who a month ago were playing together in the B team in the fifth tier in Scottish football, going away to the team who's 5 points clear and top of the league at their home and are absolutely flying, it was a bit of a big ask, right? So you look at it that regard. I still rate them individually. I think Murray, other than his three big mistakes for all three of their goals, I thought he had a pretty solid game, all things considered. Getting his head on there and clearing it, keeping his positioning, scrambling in there and clearing it. His passing out from the back was good. I thought he was okay. He just made, and he's in one of those positions where if you're a centre back and you make a mistake and the keeper doesn't save it, it stands out like dog's balls. So it's one of those unfortunate things. It's like a goalkeeper. They make a mistake, it usually ends up in a goal. So it's a bit of a shit situation for him. And people have been giving him an absolute hiding, but we've seen CCV this season have own goals and make mistakes. We've seen Scales do it. If Scales made those three mistakes, geez, there'd be all sorts of comments going on. So it's one of those sort of things where that's your four string centre back. CCV's out for 3 to 5 months. Trusty's just come back from surgery. He's not fit enough to play a full 90 yet. So your options are either go Scales with Dane Murray, or you bring in the man, the myth, the hologram. I don't know if he's real or whatever, the AI generated. Jamal Simpson Pusey, you bring him in and give him a game. They're your options.
Well,
Or
you're not gonna bring him in. You're not gonna bring him into a fixture like this, are you? But you did have Austin Trusty on the bench.
yeah, he's not fit to play the full game though, Shane. That's the thing. Like, and Brendan doesn't like swapping centre backs during a game. So again, that comes back to the manager and the management of the team, which we'll get into. But I would have had Trusty in there starting anyway. That's what I would have done. I would have preferred that. So you only have one of the two young boys starting together away at that game. Now, if you have, say, Trusty and you've got Murray who can come in later, but it's a strange situation. Like, I'm finding it really hard to even stay awake during the night for some of these games, and that was one last night. So, yeah, just thought I'd throw that out there, just changing the topic a little bit. But yeah, the first half, Shane, give us your rundown on it.
Well, I think you know, I think we all realised how this was going to go if we couldn't get a foothold in the game early, and early on they started really well and they were putting us under pressure and they scored very early on. And unfortunately, it's just a mistake from Murray, right? Just a really rash attempted clearance and he turns it into his own net. It happens. It looked really, really, really bad though. And you just sort of look and go, just for the love of God, hook it clear.
It came off the shin. That's what it was, Shane. Like that was Shin's biggest impact in the game, and it's not Yamada.
Oh, I've set you up beautifully for that. I'm going to take a lot
Had
of
to.
credit for that assist.
Liam would have loved that comment if he was here. So that's for you, Liam.
The good thing was that we were able to equalise not too long after. And that passage of play in the end with Kelmac scoring, with him being involved in the build-up, moving it side to side, the overlap from Tierney and then the pick out for Kelmac was probably our best foray forward for the entire 90, to be honest. I felt we were okay in the first half. I thought that we were probably the better team, in all honesty. I don't think we were good, but I think we were dealing with what they were throwing at us pretty well. I thought their pressure wasn't getting us too badly. I thought we made a lot of unforced mistakes. Now, midfield trio in particular were absolutely crucial to that. Hatate couldn't hit the side of a barn. Well, if he could, he did because he couldn't find a teammate. And Engels, similar, like his delivery was terrible. And we were just giving the ball away needlessly. We looked terrible in that middle third, but we were still getting enough of the ball. We just weren't creating any gilt edge chances. But we were sort of curtailing them a bit. I thought definitely first half we were probably the better team. And in all honesty, we should have gone in 2-1 up at halftime. Nigrin should bury that chance. He does the hard part he does easily, and the easy part he makes look incredibly hard. He takes a lovely touch, which is the right thing to do and really difficult to do. And then all he has to do is belt it, and he just tries to place it and lets the keeper back in. And if we'd gone up 2-1 at halftime, gone in 2-1 at halftime, I don't know if it changes what happened in the second half, but it would have been what I consider a pretty fair reflection on the game.
All right. So, bit to unpack there. First thing about Negrin, right? Are you Palmer in disguise? Doo-da, doo-da. That was a Palmer move, 100%. Great save, get the ball, make the move, just put the laces through it. Like, that was ridiculous. But he's done that 3 or 4 times. He won't shoot with his left foot. I don't know how many times he's coming in off that right when he's playing on the wing. There's even at least 3 times this season where if he just goes with the left foot and just puts the laces through it, even the first time without bringing it back, he still would have scored. There was no one on the back post. It would have been a perfect Lil Labata type goal from Andrew's first season against Borna Barisic. Remember those, everyone? Those were the halcyon days from the past. But like you had that situation. Even going back, you just need to put the foot through it. He just tried to be too tricky. So it's frustrating because we should have been up. Now, where I said there was a bit to unpack, I thought they were the better team for the first 10 minutes. Quite comfortably. Their press was on top of us. We'd barely crossed the halfway line for the first 7 minutes of the game. So credit where due, they come out of the blocks and they were chomping at the bit ready to go. We weathered that storm. We hung on. We kept our shape. The thing with what coming into it with them is they're full of beans. They're ready up. They're up and about. So they actually left space for us to go and play in behind their fullbacks. They left room for us. There was room in the middle. That goal we scored, that was Rogers' peak season, like last season Champions League sort of goal where it was pass, 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 thread it through. Great assist from Calmax run and it made his run. The assist from Tierney, Tenecti getting involved, clearing it out, that sort of thing. 3 or 4 players get involved and they made the right decision fast. And our speed of play happened and off we went and we scored, right? So it shows it can be done when teams aren't sitting in 2 rows of 5 and just clogging up the box. That should have been the spark for us to look at and go, okay, if we can do that, if we get it out wide, there's all that space to get in behind them and look for the crosses in. And we pretty much didn't do it the rest of the game until the last 5 minutes. So, and by that point, we're chasing. So, realistically, that I found frustrating. The other thing, you mentioned the midfield, and I mentioned it as well. Kate, Kalmack, Angles, Rio. What is Rio these days? He's given me Olivier and Cham COVID season vibes where he wanted to move, he didn't get it, and he's just he'll do a 5-minute burst where he looks good, and the rest of the time he's like you're a man down. Absolutely terrible performance from him. The other thing where you touched on, so Rio's passes, I'll go there. He was either passing a foot or 2 behind his teammates or putting it miles in front. His passing just was all over the place. His radar was like he was trying to figure out what planes are landing over at, Glasgow Airport or whatever, but he was picking up what's happening down at Heathrow. That's pretty much how cross signaled it all was. So the guy was all over the joint. But I'm looking at it and going, because Rio wasn't much of a threat going forward, they were able to step with his passing. They were able to step off him and clog up Tenecti going forward, so he couldn't cut back inside. So that limited his impact in the first half. So if you put those two together, that works. The other two I want to link together is Engels. You said he struggled a bit, right? I think, okay, his crossing coming in from the corners wasn't great, okay? But how well did Calmack play?
I thought Calmack was pretty good, in all
How
honesty.
much was Calmack able to step forward and be released back into that midfield role like he used to do in Brendan's first stint at the club? because he had someone sitting next to him covering him in the 6 at times so he could push forward, and that's where the goal come from. Arnie Engels was playing back basically his 2 sixes. I don't know whether it was by design or not, but he was sitting back there and allowing Kelmac to go forward and get on the ball and do more instead of just being the guy recycling the ball a lot. And then when we didn't have the ball, Engels was doing a lot of Kelmac's running. So I'm looking at it going, yeah, Engels crossing from corners wasn't great, but he's done what I said I wanted to see a week ago on the pod. I wanted to see someone come in and go with 2 sixes, someone to do the running for Kelmac to save his legs, like what Kelmac did when he was younger when Bruni was next to him. So I can't complain about what Engels did. I actually liked his game last night. I just think he could have done. There's still room for improvements in attack, but defensively, he was a workhorse for us.
I didn't see it that way, and maybe I've just got the blinkers on by grouping them all together. But I didn't really notice him get that deep, and I didn't. But more when he got on the ball, I just felt like he wasn't able to contribute. And I'm not a huge fan of him playing as a 6, even though that's probably his more natural role. I just like him further forward in that more advanced role because I just like the impetus he gives us in attack. And I feel like we struggle a little bit. And you're right, just to pick up on your point, with him sort of tailing off a bit and Calmac going forward, I love Rio and Engels together because you've got that quality. And then if Rio's not performing, you kind of have someone else in that role that can pick off those passes that Rio normally does try. It's not really what Calmac does, right? Calmac just loves to get involved. He loves to push up, get himself in a good goal scoring position, lay it off, recycle the ball a bit, but further up the park so it's more dangerous. He's not going to be the guy that looks and picks out that crossfield pass or darts one to the corner and picks out a man first time, right? He's not going to do that, whereas Engels and Hatate can do that. When Hatate is well off, and he was absolutely well off, I love the guy, but he was dreadful yesterday. I'm looking for Engels to pick up that slack. And there was just nobody in that middle third that was able to, as you said before, actually pick up on the spaces that they were leaving behind, because when we were getting the ball, we weren't effective in exploiting that at all. And I think when Rio's off, we didn't have someone else picking up that slack.
And that's comes down to management. I look at the subs when they came on, right? A triple sub before the 60-minute mark. That was shocking in the second half, right? But if we're jumping into that, I want to come back to something in the first half after this, right? But because we're on the Tenecti thing now, taking Tenecti off, right? And then put Balakwisha on. Is he even a footballer?
No.
As Willie said in our group chat, the only thing Balakwisha's got going for him at the moment is a really high Scrabble score. That's about it, right? So I haven't seen much from him. And if that was our top wing option that we've been scouting for 18 months, please, someone just go and empty the recruitment office now. It's ridiculous, right? But then bringing Nigrin into the middle of the park, putting Jamesy on the right was great. Kenny off, Yamada on, fine, whatever. Like, Kenny ran himself ragged. But, yeah, I just think the subs just didn't make any sense either, but we didn't really have much for impact on the bench. And we're going to get into the squad a little bit later on in the pod. That's our next topic we're going to talk about once we're done talking about the game, right? But back to what you said about the first half, where we tended to dominate later on, right? I don't really think it was very much domination. We got a few chances, but when it was 1-1, I actually think they scaled back their press. They weren't pressing us as hard. They're like, okay, let's get it back. Let's contain and get it out of shape. And they actually blocked it up a bit and then tried to hit us on the counter and changed the way they were playing a little bit and just managed the game through to half time a lot better than. I don't necessarily think it was us dominating. It was more, I think they game managed it, got someone in particular like Cammy Devlin getting in the middle, thumping guys. If anyone got a half chance, he was putting someone on the ground, right? Or, Shanklin just getting in there and niggling at people and nipping at their heels or whatever. They held off. They didn't press in the middle. They pressed wide or they retreated. So it was, I think they changed the way they played a bit, and that actually came into us. Like, we got more possession, but they're probably sitting there going, let's just manage this to half time because they're not doing anything with all their possession anyway.
Yeah, I think we had a bit of control. I agree that I don't think we dominated, and I stress again, I don't think we played well or good. But you're right, they did change a little bit, and they were physical, and we should have been prepared for that. We should have known what was coming quite clearly, to be honest with you. And I think for most of the 45, we handled it relatively okay, considering where things have been recently. That very much changed in the second half, unfortunately.
Yeah, second half they changed their formation, and yeah, I know you've got a fair bit to say on the second half, but yeah, I just think they changed the way they played a bit. Instead of first half, Donovan was able to keep their left winger outside of him all the time. But once they got that second goal, their confidence was just pouring out of them. And I saw no signs that we were gonna score one goal to equalise, let alone two to get the win or to draw it once they got the third and all that. So yeah, it was a bit of a doozy. But give us your general thoughts on the second half, Shane.
Well, general thoughts were just straight after half time. It very much looked like they had ascendancy relatively early on. There's obviously a 5 minute window where they score two goals and go 3-1 up. But prior to that, they'd looked like that they were getting a foothold in the game and that we were struggling to deal with their kind of tactical tweaks at halftime. And we just we just really looked like we were going back into a bit of a shell. And obviously, they get the first goal after halftime. Was it Kizaridis? Obviously, we don't clear our lines. It comes back in. He nips past Negrin a little bit too easy. Engels puts a foot out to try and stop him. Dane Murray unfortunately moves away from the trajectory of the ball, which as a defender is an absolute. You cannot do that. You've got to protect your keeper. Get in front of that ball. So that was another mistake. And then, unfortunately, and I'm not trying to make this a Get Murray thing or anything like that. We're just stating the facts here. Unfortunately, he compounds it by giving away the penalty, which was clearly there. But they had well and truly gotten on top by that point anyway. Anyone who sort of thinks this 5 minute window took the game away from us, it's not the case at all. We were well and truly behind the eight ball, in my opinion, by that point. Just to touch on something you said, when they went 3-1 up, like you, I didn't think there was any way back in this for us. I never looked at it and thought, we can get one back, we can get two back here. I looked at it and thought, we're done. There's no way that we're getting back into this at all. Because of not just our form, but who we've got on the bench, which we'll talk about later, and the way we were playing. There's so much to unpack, but we just did not look like we had any ability to get ourselves back into this game whatsoever.
If I'm distracted, anyone, there's a moth just up here somewhere bugging the shit out of me. So I apologize, but yeah, it's yeah. That the thing was, I'm looking at going when it was 2-1. I'm looking at the score going. We got no one. We've made subs. We got no one on the bench that can come on. What are you going to put on Trusty now? That makes no sense. You bring Bernardo on. No, the only option you've got on the bench that could impact the game is McCowan. That's it. So I was just like, nah, put a fork in us. We're done. It's over at that point. So it was a bit of a bad situation to be in, but that's football, I suppose. But you got anything else you want to touch on the game, Shane, or should we just go through the comments?
Just a couple of things. I've talked about this before, but it was so evident yesterday. We looked incredibly slow on the park. We just looked slow, so slow by comparison to Hearts. Every time we got the ball, it was just laboured movement forward. There was no pace to our play whatsoever. Our players don't have any pace. Balak Wisha is just the perfect example of that. I don't know how we've managed to sign a winger who can't actually beat a man. That's incredible. But I've never seen him go on the outside of a fullback once. I don't think he skinned a fullback once. He just looks to get on the ball, slowly drift inside. Brendan has to play him as an 8 or a 10 going forward. He can't play him on the wing because he has absolutely no pace whatsoever. There's just what's of a concern for me at the moment is we look terrible. And I want to give Hearts a bit of credit, right? Because they're obviously undefeated. They're top of the table. They came out. They were physical. They had a presence. We knew what was coming. They delivered on what they planned. They were decent. They deserved to win. They were the much better team, right? And they put us under a lot of pressure. They were the better team on the day. But we're obviously going to look at this a bit more centrally and focus on Celtic because of the fact we're a Celtic podcast. I can't get away from just how awful we looked and how flat we looked. And, something that's been bugging me today, when Celtic play, particularly domestically, maybe fear is not the right word, but everybody knows when Celtic comes to play that they're in for a battle, they're in for a pretty fierce game, and they're going to have to do their best to get a result off of us, whether it's home or away. I'll call it fear just for lack of a better term. We don't elicit that fear at the moment. I don't think teams would be worried about facing this Celtic team. Falkirk, I don't think will be too worried. Who's going to be worried facing this team at the moment, domestically, let alone in Europe? Nobody. And it's been a very, very long time since we could say that about a Celtic team, particularly at domestic level.
I've got a bit of one for you, Shane. I've just been strolling through here. So this time last year, all right, just as a comparison, you're talking about speed and looking tired and everything. We had a bigger squad with better players, obviously. But if we go back to it, this point last year, we'd gone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games, 9 games. There you go. We're 9 games undefeated, then got pumped by Dortmund 7-1, right? Then we beat Ross County off the back of that. So we get to where we're at now, right? So our last league game equivalent, we lost 3-0 to Dundee. It was 2 against Aberdeen last season, right? At home. Then we go away to Atalanta in the Champions League, 0-0 draw, right? And then we come back into the league away to Motherwell. So it's not like I'm comparing that because we were at home in the Europa League. That was in Italy. Then we had to come back and go to Motherwell and we won 3-0. Then we did 2-0, 6-0 against Aberdeen, 3-1 against Leipzig, 2-0 against Killy, 4-1 away at Hearts. As a comparison, our first trip to Tynecastle last year, 1-0 against Club Bruges, 5-0 against Ross County, 1-0 against Aberdeen away, 3-0 against Hibs, 0 Dinamo Zagreb. Then we beat Rangers on penalties. Then we have a draw against Dundee United, 4-0 against Motherwell, 4-0 against St Johnson. And then we lose to Rangers in January. Since then, we haven't had any massive. We've had like one massive win, a 4-1 against Ross County. And there's a 4-2 at Villa that we got beat. There's a 6-0 at Dundee, a 5-0 against Wraith Rovers. But we haven't had that consistency of like a bunch of clean sheets in a row, which is why I was reading all those scores for. Comparing games at the same venue at the same time of the season. But the thing for me is all those clean sheets. We haven't had that this season. We're struggling to put numbers up. We're down 2-1, and I'm thinking, yeah, we're not going to win this away against Hearts. Yet last year we went there, they won, they scored first, and then we scored 4 straight, 4 goals. I just can't see where the goals are coming from. There's no impact on the bench. There's no speed about the game. It's just so hard to watch. And the managed decline of Celtic it's just pathetic. It's disappointing to see. But anyway, I'll just get some comments now, Shane, unless you got anything else you want to add, and then we'll get into the squad stuff. So John Cairns is saying, lads, what can we say? We're our own worst enemies and something has to give after the wasted momentum from the Sturm game. 100%. And that's why I just went through everything as well, John, because we could draw away in Europe last year in the Champions League, and then what happens? We come back and bounce back. We have a win in Europe, and then we go and do that on the weekend. Not ideal. Heavy vibes are saying, and now the end is near. Simon is saying 11 games until the January window. Not that we'll do anything in other than a couple of, club signings. We're not going to spend any money because Rogers isn't getting a new contract. Let's be honest. And there's a pissing contest behind the scenes. So I don't think we'll see much there. Dermot is saying, thought we played well first half and ran out of steam, but nothing to change it from the bench. This is on the board. It's also on the manager, being honest with you.
Mm.
We've got players, as we've gone through before, and we'll go through in the squad. There's a group of players, because they're club signings, Brendan won't play them unless he's absolutely desperate. So that's part of it too.
I'm going to touch on that really quickly. Yes, definitely the lack of impact off the bench is 100% down in my not 100% down to the board, but a significant chunk of that is to the board. We don't have any game changers on the bench, which we'll talk about shortly. But pairing Murray and Donovan together when you've got options there. Like for me, you talked about Trusty instead of Murray. For me, I'm picking Ralston ahead of Donovan. And that's nothing against Colby. I like Colby. We've got a player there, definitely one that's going to, I hope, stick around for a while. But that environment, we need a player who's familiar with it and we need a player who's ready for it. And to me, Tony Ralston fits that bill incredibly well.
There's another option there, Shane. This is what I would have loved to have seen. Been banging on about it all season. 3-5-2. And what you do, if you're going to play Murray and you're going to play Scales in the middle, have Tierney move in at left centre back. That way, the Uruguayan captain in Sirachi, yeah, he captained his team in the last international thing, can play left wing back. Donovan can play right wing back. And then in the middle of the park, you're all good. You're structured across the back and you can play two strikers together. We're absolutely struggling at wing. So one of those strikers could be Kenny with Nigrin playing off him. Could be Tenecti going up playing as a false nine or playing off the back of a striker. Partner it up that way. You could drop Rio, put Nigrin in the midfield, and then still fit Tenecti in there. Find a way to make it work with the players you got. Like, since you see 4-3-3, no matter what, we don't have the players for that system. We haven't had them all season.
And it's amazing he keeps persisting with it though. And yet he'll come out and say we don't have the quality in the front third at the moment. We'll play to what you have then. Set it
It's your,
up to the way that we'll get the best out of what you have then.
it's your fucking job, Brendan. Seriously, if I move for a job, I move freight around the world. If I've got 3 pallets that I can't fit on a plane because it's too tall, I have to find a way to get it over here. So I send it sea freight. It's a change of formation. It's the equivalent of that. It's not hard, right? So if he's got to move, he's got to change the formations because he doesn't have the players to play a certain system, then bloody well do it. Stop being so petulant. His stubbornness is killing it. There's only so much. There you go. Craig White, CSC, get Rogers to fuck. Simon saying, agree, Rio has been murder as much as it pains me to say. Stephen McAnally is saying, get Rogers out the club, takes off the best player, starts wars. He'll not play the next game. Yeah. And then you just go through it here. Heavy vibes are saying the board's chickens are coming home to roost. Pork Chop saying Brendan Rodgers has fucked most of our players with his safety first approach. He's coached the balls out of Kyogo, Hatade, Kalmack, and Bravery. Also the wingers. You see Nigrin when he came in, he wanted to get the ball and go forward. Tenecti's first games, he's getting the ball and pushing forward. Even in preseason, we saw it with Inamura. He come in that first game against Cork and he's just bombing up and down the wing. You were at that game, weren't you, Shane?
Yep.
He was absolutely just bombing up and down. And for the second game in Italy, he was just, or about Portugal or whatever it was, he gets the ball just bang straight away back, looks scared to take the man on. So it makes you think, is Balikwisha as bad as he is, or is it being coached out of him?
See, it all comes back. See, now it's all making sense. We nearly lost to Cork that day. Now it's all making sense. It's that building block meme with the guy with the little blocks saying almost lose to Cork in the Cork Super Cup to getting scudded at Tynecastle
There you
top
go.
of the table hats. And I love Cork City. Oh, I'm going to get into a lot of trouble for that comment. Sorry, guys.
Nah, it's all good. Jason Rochford is saying Brendan Rodgers won't leave until the end of the season. We need strikers to put the ball in the net instead of trying to walk the ball in the net. And who's going to be the next manager? Not many managers out there apart from Ange. And I'll not bring him in. Well, so the talks at the moment, right? The favourites are, I was hoping Liam was on for this. Robbie Keane is the current favourite.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, followed up by Damien Duff.
Well, Keena won out of Ferencvaros because of all those changes to their domestic league and needing certain players, local players being on the park at all times, and the
Yeah,
Ferencvaros are full of international players. He'll
that's
want
why
out very.
Arzani's not playing there.
That's exactly right. Yeah. So, yeah. Okay. That's not exciting news.
So we're being linked with that sort of thing. Like, I don't want us to be bringing in someone who just knows the city. Okay, like we look at it and go, Kevin Muscat's out of contract at the end of the Chinese season. I think he's actually got a year left, but he'll be cheap to get out if you want to go to him, right? Um, Kettle Knutson's out of contract come January 1st at Bodo Glimt. So there's a potential option. Marco Rosa, who have said is currently out of contract. There you go. There's three quality managers right there. So, and that means we're not getting, bringing in Damien Duff, or we're not bringing in, what's the other one we're talking about? Not Sean Maloney getting promoted from within or anything like that. But the clean out for the managers needs to be root and stem. We need to get rid of, love what Kennedy's done, but he needs to go be his own man and go manage. Strachan and his laptop need to go. They've been there for 10 years. You can't have someone like bringing in one of those guys like Ange and then not have his support staff. So you got to bring it in and restructure it all.
I mean, Duff's only been at St Pat's, I think, in the League of Ireland. So I don't think he's had any other managerial or top flight managerial experience. So if you're looking at if you're looking at someone who's managed there successfully for quite a while, you might as well look at someone like a Stephen Bradley, sorry, at Shamrock Rovers, who's been there for ages and got them through Europe and things like that. Not that I necessarily think he's the answer. I'm not
Dermot would
familiar.
love that actually, because Shamrock Rovers, how easy will that be for him to deal with?
Look, I'm not familiar too much with Robbie Keane's managerial record. I don't know how Ferencvaros are going. I know he managed the MLS for a little while, but all I know is that, and it's probably going to be a when, not if now, when we need to get that new gaffer in, when that time comes, it's going to be a really significant appointment. Who we pick next will be a really vital decision that will set us on a significant course, right? It feels a bit more, it feels a bit more intense than any other kind of managerial change I can remember. Like the Ange one was just so out of the box and caught us by surprise a little bit. When we first heard the rumors, but we knew what we were getting. We were very excited about the possibility. But this one, this I can't think of the right word, but there's such importance on this next managerial decision and the path it takes us on. It'll be so interesting as to who they select.
The reason for that, though, Shane, is because, let's be honest, we need such a massive rebuild. When Ange come in, we needed a rebuild, but the problem was we were so all in. It's going to be Eddie Howe, right? So no matter what happened after that, it seemed like a letdown. So that automatically just was like, okay, breathe out. A few days later, people look into Ange. Oh, this actually might be a good appointment. All of us are getting on there going, yep, it's actually going to be perfect for us. And off to the races we go. So Pork Chop Express has got the best summary here. Like Knudsen leaving Bodo in January. Let's hope he's been spoken to and the players are lined up for summer. Gives him 6 months to study what's already here. Pie in the sky, probably. Yeah. So as I said on Thursday, an ideal scenario would be, okay, Knudsen's going to out of contract. If you can get him to come in, great. We were linked with Ola Solbakken, who was supposed to come in, but we couldn't get the deal done in the summer window, right? And he played under Knudsen at Bodo previously. So if you can line up the moves, so Solbakken comes in, Yang's out in January, Knudsen comes in, perfect. He already knows the player anyway, so set it up. But there's a comment here from Michael Ross saying, I'd imagine Knudsen will have better offers than us. And yeah, he turned down Ajax previously, so yeah, because he didn't want to leave. But yeah, it's going to be a bit of an interesting one.
Mm.
But yeah, I'm just going through a few other comments here, trying to see if there's anything here. Michael Ross is saying, I think most folk know I never wanted Rogers back, but I did get behind him once reappointed, but after Kyrat, I was done with him. You and me both. Like, I just thought his whole contract thing's just becoming ridiculous. I started cracking the shits with him last year with the whole Kyogo thing when he stopped playing, changing to our strengths and wanted Kyogo to play a different way. It just was a bit of a weird one. So yeah, it's gonna be a bit of a doozy. This is for you, Shane. Ralston, are you joking? He's just as bad as Murray and Welsh. Almost.
Uh, I don't think he's as bad as those two personally, and I don't think Murray's that bad a player. He just had a really bad game, right? I rate Murray. Welsh, different story. What I was more talking about, not necessarily from a skill level, but just his ability to handle the occasion. Ralston's played in a lot of big fixtures. He was Ange's go-to right back until we got AJ on board, right? He has experience, and you watch Tony the way he plays. He is tremendously focused. That's one thing you know about Tony. You give him a task and he just sticks to it, and he gives 110% at doing his task. I just felt like yesterday having two very young players like Murray and Donovan in that cauldron environment was very difficult to handle. And Donovan, he did his best, but man, they were coming at him. Something Hearts did really well yesterday, to their credit, it was they did target that side a lot. They really went after, they tried to go after Murray where they could, but definitely coming down our right, everything was funneling through there. Their winger was constantly at Donovan, and it wasn't all his fault. He needed a bit of help, but he was having a torrid time, and I just think Tony's a bit better at handling that occasion. That's all that comment was for. He's not a saviour by any stretch, right? We need AJ back, absolutely, but I think if Rodgers had his time over again, I'd like to think he would have picked Tony Ralston instead of Kobe Donovan.
So, talking about Rodgers, let's get into the management talk, right? So, there's a few things here. So, fan 1967 Tick is saying that has been Rodgers' war cry at Leicester and now with us. He develops no players, just wants the board to buy multi-million-pound players wherever he is. And everyone was talking about how he's good at developing players. And you got Michael Ross saying Rodgers wants to be a checkbook manager. It's a myth he improves players. And then you've got Bonnie saying, so if the players are Honda Civics, Brendan's a dodgy car dealer. Comment of the night. Love that one, Bonnie. Good job. And Smell the Glove is saying, if when we lose to the Huns, he has to go. What are your thoughts, Shane?
Jeez, it's going to be it's going to be hard to avoid. Like the pressure's on right now. Dundee was meant to be the catalyst. We'd been sort of lurching to this peak or this kind of a point of no return. Dundee was that point of no return. We couldn't have another result like this. We didn't expect to get a result maybe midweek against Sturm Graz. We got a good result. But that still didn't mean that what we saw yesterday was acceptable. Now, there's definitely a lot that you can point yesterday and say, that's probably not his fault. But what we saw on the park, that's his domain. He's managing that. He controls that. He makes the tactical decisions. He makes the team selections. The way we are playing is so turgid at the moment. You said earlier you find it hard to stay awake for these games and stay awake watching us at the moment. We don't play a very exciting brand of football. It is very slow. It is very methodical. It is far too patient. And we have very little cutting edge.
Can I say it, Shane? It's boring as shit to watch. Seriously. I'm like, and you're the same as me, like with the time zones. We've gone from 2 or 3 weeks ago, it was a 9-hour difference to now 11-hour difference. So midday kickoff for that game yesterday was 11 p.m. here. So the game's from 11 p.m. to 1 a.m., right? And then we've got to work today. So we're up watching that, trying to stay awake to watch that absolute rubbish that was dished up last night. It's not enjoyable and it's hard to watch.
And that is, you can blame the board for a lack of quality, right? Or a lack of signings and ticking things off, and that's fine. And there's obviously, it's a nuanced topic that we can discuss ad nauseum, as we have been, and as have many other Celtic podcasts have been for a very long time. But what we see on the park at the moment, Brendan has to take responsibility for that. And we talked earlier about the fact that he'll come out and chew out the wingers and say, I don't have the quality up top. I don't have the quality in my wingers. Well, then do something that means you can work better with what you have, whether that's playing a 3-5-2, whether that's some other tactical tweaks. Do something a little bit differently.
Change the formation, mate. It's not hard. Have you ever... I have a question. Brendan, if you tune in, because let's be honest, We know he does like to watch fan media, so it's highly doubtful. But Brendan, seriously, dude, get on a PlayStation or Football Manager or something like that. Go to the tactics, the formations thing, and have a look through the screen. On FIFA or whatever it's called, there's at least 30 different formations in there that you could possibly play. Have a look, mate. You don't have to go 4-3-3.
And I think it's. I think we've passed that peak. I almost think we're pretty much at borrowed time now. To be honest with you.
It's like Lenny in the COVID season where there was an away game and we got pumped. I think it was against, I don't know, I think it was maybe Killy or Ross County or something. Like, should have absolutely beaten them. I can't remember the game, but I remember when we come back and it was after that where he then went on that rant about new age fans and all that sort of shit, right? And at that point, you're like, and it was around this time of the season, you're like, make a bloody change, Celtic. It has to be done. It's still salvageable. And we sat on it until what, March or something like that, or April till he left. So
The question is whether he will stick around or whether another opportunity comes up. And if another opportunity comes up, he's probably gone, right? I'm not sure he'll stick around if he thinks it'll damage his brand.
especially when he's out of contract, he's going to want to look at his next deal. But people are saying he's on a £3 million contract. Why would he want to leave? Well, if the club get rid of him, he'll go on a gardening leave and I'll just pay him out to the end of the season. And that probably suits him better because then he's not going to cop all these wallopings on the way out and look like he's hopeless. But once he leaves for the second time, I don't care what he does. But I'll just bring up a couple of comments here. So James Smith saying Marco Rose for next Celtic manager. Smell of the Glove is saying Desmond want another Irishman. And that's part of the problem. Like, that's like me being an Australian saying, okay, it has to be Kevin Muscat then. I want the best candidate. And I shouldn't have to know where all the cobwebs are in the stadium. Michael Ross is saying Knutson would be my choice. And then Heavy Vibes are saying Lickspit or Lennon's ass licking his way back. Don't you even dare.
I think there's not enough water has passed under that bridge, and I'm not too sure if there will ever be enough water to pass under that bridge. To be honest with you,
Yeah, so it's going to be a bit of a Vinny. There you go, Stephen Bradbury. We really do need a miracle.
he knew exactly who I incorrectly pronounced the name before, or why I incorrectly pronounced it. Stephen Bradbury is an Australian icon. If you haven't checked him out, check it out. It's one of the best Australian stories you'll ever hear.
So fan 967 ticks saying Hatade, Kalmack, CCV, Kyogo, Tierney all went backwards under Rogers. We can go through the rest of the squad now, Shane, off the back of that, because that sets us up nicely for it. But yeah, I'll just scroll through. But yeah, it's going to be, Bonnie's saying here, it'll be crazy if Muscat comes in and turns this around. Henrik McLaughlin, this is so depressing. Us on the pod talking about this or that it's actually happening, which is the depressing one because I can apologize for us, but yeah, it's pretty bad too.
I'll sing, Henrik. You don't want to hear it, but I'll sing if it'll make you happy.
Do it. Come on, we want Shane to sing.
No, you don't. You really don't.
There it is. At least you'd have some great hair as well. Got a player manager. Michael Ross put that comment. And then John McEwen is saying, what decent manager would come here with this board? Yep. So,
only on the Jota thing, only if he wears the double denim on the touchline.
oh, that's sexy as.
Oh, we got some clarification. Thankfully.
Know the situation. All right, cool, Henrik. Well, you just stopped Shane singing now. What's that all about?
He saved everyone tuning in.
For everyone's ears.
Yep.
Well
So, done.
just some comments before we get into the squad. Talk about the injury situation, right? So we know, obviously, oh God, Michael Ross, young player manager. Shit. Anyway, so apparently Dazen's back in training on Monday. Still a doubt for Wednesday's game. We'll see how he's each day. We know CCV's out for 3 to 5 months with the Achilles injury. Alistair Johnson and Ika, a couple of weeks. Not as bad as was originally feared for both of their hammies. So
Good.
that's some news that I got from Ross from I can't remember which other pod he's on. Sorry, Ross, but yeah, thanks for sending that through. Yeah, so looking at the squad, it's a bit of a makes me feel sad. Let's be honest. I look at this and go, we should be doing so much better with the players we have in this squad, even though it's pretty friggin' weak compared to previous seasons. But so if we go through the goalkeepers, Casper Schmeichel, right? Still making a few good saves here and there, but he's not hitting the form of the level that he was last season. I've seen comments online saying that he's fat, he's overweight, he's not moving. I wish I was as fat as him if he's fat. I'll tell you that much, mate. Honestly, like I think I don't know what's going on there, but I think we're at the point now where Sinisalo probably needs to come in at some point and get a run of games. How do you feel about that, Shane? The
Yeah, I
goalkeepers?
think so. Yeah, look, Casper's still making, as you said, he just hasn't hit the same heights as last season. Let's be honest with you, and I think his distro has been particularly noticeably poor at times this season. I don't know if that's just being the way he's being told to play by Brendan, or whether it's just him and just lacking a bit of skill in that department. But we've got Sinisalo there. Sinisalo has shown Sinisalo has shown. Try and say that 5 times in a row.
You just did
With
three times and butchered it all three times, Shane. So
with a mouthful of marbles. Sinisalo has shown. I feel like I'm reading a fucking autobiography. He's shown a bit of form, right? And I'd be definitely keen to get him in and get him playing a few more games, because there's going to become a natural handover where Casper eventually retires or cedes, and then I just realised I'm running out of battery on my laptop. I'm gonna have to unplug it in. One sec.
I'll
Sorry,
waffle then. I'll just read
you
some more
waffle.
comments then. So Simon is saying, Japanese translator for manager. He's got the medals and soon won't have anyone to translate for anyway. And then James Smith is saying Jota will be back for New Year. Casper is shit. Gets in a solo in. Heavy Vibes is saying get Sin in goals now. Gabby Boy is saying I've already said Yang has just learned his first sentence in English. You want fries with that? I actually think he's Hoopy the Hound.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. You know what? Being professional, prior um, prior preparation prevents piss poor performance, and I failed on all of those departments.
Pork Chop saying pulling a hammy 2 minutes into a game's poor warm up routine, or is it lazy by the player? Who knows?
What were we even talking about? I can't even remember what we were talking
You were
about.
waffling about goalkeeper situation. Sinisalo needing to come in.
Oh yeah, that's it. Bring him in.
Yeah. So yeah, for me, Schmeichel for the games in Europe at the moment. I'd love to see Sinisalo get a run of games though. Get him in, see what we've got there because he's a full international now for Finland. So
What I will say with Casper though, he does look visibly frustrated at what he's seeing unfold in front of him. Like he was so, and I don't blame him. Yesterday, he was so frustrated by that second Hearts goal. And to be honest, the first one really is out of his control. But
do you
like,
blame me for any of the three, Shane? Let's be honest.
no,
Like,
none,
stop for a
none.
second. The first one, all right, is what? An own goal. He's made a great save, right? We should have cleared it. We didn't. So he's entitled to be frustrated for that. The second one, I don't know if Murray thought his positioning was wrong, so he's moved across thinking, "Oh, I don't want to keep it in the field, let it go wide," or he's just shat the bed, right?
Mm.
So it should have been cleared, and that should have covered his near post. And then the third one, it was just a penalty. Like, what can you do? So he's got every right to, but I'd be frustrated too if I was him because if last year you had a set back line in front of you
Mm.
of Greg Taylor on the left, AJ on the right, CCV and Scales, or CCV and Trusty, and that was your back five with Calmac in front pretty much every game. You build up that rotation and you set. And this season, it's like every game is a new player in the back line that didn't play the last game. There's no consistency there. So, yeah, What's Pinball saying here? It is easier to be a goalkeeper if you don't get shots taken at you. And there you go. It's what I'm saying about the defence. Spot on.
Ties in with your clean sheet comment from earlier from the results from last season as well.
Yep. Yeah. And then you've got heavy vibes. Let's be honest, we miss Taylor. Come on, everyone. Say it. I apologise, Greg Taylor, for giving you a hard time.
Well, we do because where we're getting exposed, we really necessarily weren't getting exposed in that area with Greg Taylor playing at left back. It was more his height and getting physically bullied. Whereas now,
That's you.
yeah, whereas Tierney is failing to track back, and there's so much space now. He can't get up and down the park as he can. With Greg, we weren't really getting that exposed. So yeah, I agree. It's a we didn't think it was going to unfold this way, but yeah, he's definitely missed.
The biggest short ass on Celtic Down Under has just picked on someone's height. Hilarious.
And he covers me easily too, Greg. he could dunk on me. So yeah.
There we go. Anyway, so we'll get back to the squad chat quickly. So goalkeeper situation, Doohan's is there for backup, such driving the minibus to and from training. Sinisalo should be in starting some games soon. Then you go through the defenders. Alistair Johnson, his season has just been stop-start because of injuries, so we can't really do too much there. Simpson Pusey does he really exist? Was he some AI generated guy? Who knows? He looks like, when you do a create your player on FIFA or whatever, that's what you get in one of the designs. Scales been our best defender this season by a country mile. Austin Trusty had an injury interrupted season. CCV, his form's been pretty honking. Inamura, that's one of those ones Brendan won't play because it's a club signing. Srirachi, I like him. I'd love for us to find a way to buy him, make that permanent, and then go to the back three with KT as your left centre back, so Srirachi can get games. Dane Murray, I still think there's a player there. That should be our fourth string centre back. Colby Donovan, really impressed by what I've seen from him so far this season. Yesterday, I didn't think he was that bad yesterday. And then the Bricky, he tries hard. He's a good servant for us at club level, but yeah, I hope the less he starts, the better. And then KT, you just touched on, he's struggling to get up and down the field. Not the player he was. He looks broken down, and he looks like he's heading into the Michael Owen level of career thing where it's, he'll be retired by 30, 32 at the latest.
Yeah, sadly for a tremendous quality player that he has been up until this point, but injuries have ravaged him. Really, when you think about it, he's definitely nowhere near the player he was when he left. Sadly, and I didn't think we'd obviously get a player of that ilk, but I'm surprised at his inability to get up and down the park. I really am.
And that's the thing why I compared him to Michael Owen. You look, he was a 16-year-old, burst on the scene, did really well at Liverpool and for England. Then he had a bunch of injuries and just could never get back there. And Tierney's kind of ended the same way. So looking at that back line, I think when you take away Lagerbelka, you take away Ignorowski, where we just look short. Like Taylor's out of there. I think our back line's just too many injuries at certain positions, and yeah, it's just awful so far.
It's form too. CCV having a poor season by his standards has definitely left us a hell of a lot more exposed than we have been. He's been a tremendous player for many a year now. This season's probably the worst I've seen him play. As you said, Scales is comfortably our best defender. When you've got someone like CCV who's really down on form like that, and you don't have a natural player to come in and necessarily replace him, we've obviously tried previously, or at least tried to we tried to partner CCV for so long. Now we're at the point where we don't really have anyone to cover for him. As you said, I rate Murray too, but he's probably not your starting centre back along with Scales. That's where you need someone like a Trusty, but we just don't have that sort of trust in Trusty, if I can say it that way.
Like the thing with Murray is he's in the exact same spot with Welsh, right? But the thing is, Welsh would absolutely shit the bed, and then he'd just grab a shoulder and pretend he's injured and be off, right? So at least Murray, he played well other than those 3 honking mistakes yesterday, right? He put out there and he put effort in and he still cleared it and did his work, right? But I look at Ralston and Murray in the same boat at the moment that starting them against the top 6 Scottish Premiership team, not ideal. Against the bottom 6, if they were to start against, say, Aberdeen, for instance, they'd have no problems with that at all. That's me just trying to kick Aberdeen because, yeah, the only reason Jimmy Tillene's still in a job is because he got a trophy against us last year.
It's very true.
So, middle of the park, if we get to that there, Benjamin Nigren, what's your thoughts on him so far?
Mixed bag. Mixed bag. There's been some moments of quality, and there's been times where I thought we've got a real player here. But there's also been times where I look at him and go, he's not doing what we need him to do. Brendan seems to really struggle to decide where he's going to play him. I think he's not a winger. I think he's definitely a midfielder. But then when I see him play in the midfield when he needs to muck in a little bit, he doesn't. So I don't know. Mixed bag so far. One worth persisting with, but definitely the one where I sort of get those mixed vibes from.
Here's one I look at and go, I think he's been coached out of taking risks and being aggressive because I don't think Brendan knows the best way to put him out there on the field. Like, Nigren is he a winger? No, because he's too slow. He's got the skills to play out there, but he's too slow. You get him in the middle of the park, is he a midfielder? No, he's not physical enough. He will shirk away from contact, right? So you look and go, where would Nigren fit? If we were in a system that had a 10, that's probably the only position that I think he would work. I think he would work best. Get him in the old Rogic role for us.
Hmm.
And then talking about that role, then you've got his backup in that role in Luke McCowan. Luke's all energy, works hard, but long term, we need better. I wish we would have a better caliber of player coming in as that impact sub off the bench. But I can't question his work rate, what he does for the club. And whenever he goes on, he'll just play, whether it's on the wing or shit. There was even a point, not yesterday, I can't remember which game it was, where he was covering it right back for 3 or 4 possessions. I've got no problem with him. I think he works hard, but yeah. Arnie Engels, pretty simple. We need to see more of him. Yeah, I just think there's a player there, but what's his best position in this formation with Kelmax undroppable? Who knows, right? So, and then the next one after that, Bernardo, like, is he shagging Brendan's daughter or something, or what? Because he's just not getting any love here. Like, that guy should be playing.
I feel like yesterday would have been the perfect opportunity to bring him in. Right when we needed to take Hatate off, I wouldn't have actually dropped Negrin back into midfield. I would have brought Bernardo on instead.
Yeah. Well, switch it up. Change your formation. If you're not going to go to your 3-5-2, you go to a 4-4-2 diamond or something and put Bernardo in the middle. Can't complain with that. He'd do the job. Rio, get rid, sell. Empty jersey.
I'm still on Rio. I'm not going to say get rid of just
I'm
yet.
off him.
One thing I would say very quickly about yesterday is I hope Brendan isn't, and he probably is, but I hope he isn't super discouraged about trying a midfield trio of Hatate, Kelmack, and Engels, because I think that is probably our best midfield trio at the moment when they're all on. Hatate is definitely running out of time in terms of turning this around. He needs to find something soon, otherwise he will be out the door. Yesterday he was just absolutely dreadful, but I know what, and maybe I'm just living on past glories, but I know what he can produce. I know the kind of player he can be, and I just like to think we can unlock that one more time and get him back into form.
Reason I'm saying I'm off him out the door is he's a fringe player for the Japan team. When's the next World Cup? He's going to want to move to a better league to try and position himself better for that. So he doesn't look like his heart's in it. And the performances we're getting from him, and he wants to move anyway. Just let him get that move on, wish him well, see you later, get a replacement in, and off we go. Get on with it. Get someone who wants to be there and wants. Like, I'm sure we could go to Scandinavia and get someone from up there. Or now we know the diagnosis for Odin Home. and we know he'd know how to manage it, and he's getting the treatment he needs, there's a player there. So moving on, and then Calmac, yeah, fun times. Should be getting rotated. Shouldn't be having to play 90 minutes every single game we play. Henrik McLaughlin, nice comment here. Hatade, Calmac, Engel sounds like a firm of solicitors.
Don't bring that up, please.
Simon saying you could argue to sell everyone on the squad this season for the ones that have been poor and for their backups that haven't been able to displace them. Yep. It's a bit of pretty average. So we'll just go to the forwards now. Jota, yet to be seen because of injuries. Has some luscious locks though, so he needs to stay just because he's one beautiful human. That's for all you lot out there. Jared is jealous. Pinball saying, what is the Odin home news? Apparently he's got diagnosed with something like compartment syndrome, which is an impingement of the nerves in your legs that make your feet tingle and stuff. So when you're exercising, so that explains why he's been struggling to play football and keep his fitness up and all that sort of stuff. And then there was something else similar to it as well. So yeah, it's not ideal, but now they've been able to find it, then yeah, they can treat it. I I used to coach basketball and I had a player with that, and yeah, it's some painful stuff. Couldn't jump, turn quick, do any of the pivoting or quick moves. So pretty much ruin a midfielder where they want to be able to get the ball past and quickly turn. We wouldn't have any power if he tries to do that. His feet would feel like they're numb. Balak Wisher, we've already spoken about.
Can we talk
Yang,
about him again?
F1, Balak Wisher.
No.
I don't even know what we've got there, to be honest with you. I honestly don't know if he is that bad or if it's the system he's being forced to play in.
Oh, he
Because
can't beat a man, mate. Like I'm completely off him now. He has had a couple of opportunities now to come on as an impact sub, and he's brought zero impact. His inability to actually beat a man out wide is so fucking glaring. It's just so bad. I don't know how we've managed to sign a winger that can't actually beat a man. It boggles the mind.
the thing is, Shane, in the Sturm Graz game, I didn't realise he's as fast as he is. There was like one play where he's just absolutely flying up and down the pitch, right? So he's actually pretty quick. So is it he doesn't beat a man because he's not allowed to because of the tactical formation we're playing? Or is it because he can't because he's quicker over a distance and over one or two steps? Who knows? I don't know what we've got there.
Hmm.
So that's what I mean by that. I need to see him under a different manager. Like, who knows? Say if you brought Knutson in and then Balakwisha come in that system with the high press and everything like that with his speed, he could absolutely be dangerous. He could be another, like, I'm going to say it, under the Ange system, Abada is an ideal winger for what we do with the high press because he's got that motor where he can sprint and sprint and sprint and sprint and do 3 or 4 close downs, the same that Kyogo would do, the same that Maeda would do. I think that sort of setup would suit Balakwisha more than what we're trying to do at the moment.
I'm not as convinced on that. I just don't think he's a wide player. I'm not seeing enough to say he's a wide player at the moment. I think if he's going to persist in this lineup, he has to play more centrally.
Fair enough. Hey, I haven't seen enough of the guy to make a judgment. I'm just playing devil's advocate here for conversation purposes.
I feel like I've seen enough from him just to see what he's bringing, and what he's bringing isn't what we need out wide.
It's a thing called he subs on late when I'm doing the old head wobbles while the game's on, so it's a bit hard. Let's be honest here. And then Yang, get Reds, go down to the Brum. See you later, mate. Yeah, either your missus needs to come to Glasgow permanently, and then we've got a player there, or you need to move.
Let's make sure Nicholson answers the phone call this time.
Yeah. Iheanacho, I've been impressed by what I've seen so far. I think there's a player there. I think he's found his level after everything. So, yeah, happy with that. Shin Yamada, it is criminal what's going on there with the way he's come in. He was scouted to be Kyogo's replacement last January and it didn't happen. And then he comes in and Brendan won't play him. Like, the move from Inamura and Yamada is going to ruin that Japanese pipeline of their players who are good. Their clubs like Celtic will bring you in, you'll play, you'll get in the window, and then you'll get your next move. And we're not going to get these players wanting to make that move because of him now. and that's that situation. So yeah, I feel bad for him.
Look, I want to see more of Shin, but to be fair, he got subbed on yesterday with a fair chunk of time still remaining, and I didn't see an awful lot from him to say that he was going to give us anything different than what Johnny Kenny did. Now, that's a very small subset, of course, but like I didn't see yesterday and go, I'd be starting Shin against Falkirk.
Yeah, I get you, Shane, but at the same time, Kenny did bugger all as well. It was the service that they weren't that neither of them were getting. So it can be a tough job. Adam Eder before that was doing bugger all as well. So let's be honest, it's this system at the moment. Then the next one, Callum Osmond. I want him loaned out. Apparently, he's one of the best young prospects down in England. We got him, and then he's a club signing, so can't get cited. Who knows what we've got there?
Hmm.
The fact that he chose to come to us over 3 or 4 other Premier League clubs, and now he's not even getting a game, and he's being forced to play in the B team down in the Lowland League. Like it's not good enough.
Let's get him loaned out.
Yeah, Sebastian Tenecti, baller, needs to do something about his hair though. It's just nah, needs a haircut, mate. Honestly.
Well, he's our best winger at the moment by a
Oh yeah.
long way, a long, long way. And maybe the output might not necessarily rectify it, but he is working his absolute ass off week in and week out.
I'm just going to be straight up with you. You said he's our best winger, but being honest, this deflating balloon is probably our second best winger this season. Being honest with you, like the rest of our wingers are just crap.
I did
Didn't
wonder what you were trying to grab then. I was like, maybe he's got the moth.
Nah, I didn't even know there was a balloon there. All of a sudden, I was like, yeah, I'll just grab a balloon and just throw that in for shits and giggles. Wasn't very funny, but anyway,
I laughed.
that was a charity one. Come on, Johnny Kenny. He's one of those guys where is he going to make it long term at Celtic? Probably not. But he's Irish. He plays hard. Don't know. See what happens there.
Well, considering how bad the service has been, and it was
Yeah.
awful yesterday. If you're going to have someone up front uh, chasing long balls and trying to fight right against odds, chasing lost causes, he's probably your guy, to be honest.
Honestly, if we were playing a pressing game, I think he'd be a lot more functional for us than he is in this current system. But at the moment, yeah. And then Maida needs his move. I think he's come to the end of his tether there. Simon, that's the saddest part of the lot, isn't it? Mikey Johnson would get into our team just now.
Oh, easily starting winger.
Bring Tilio back. There you go.
Wow,
Or Arzani.
genuinely, yes.
Let's just say if we bring Robbie Keane in as manager, tell me to bring Arzani back with him.
In all seriousness, Arzani will be looking for a move shortly because he can't get into that team at Ferencvaros, and their quota means he probably won't. So he'll be looking for a move soon.
And let's look at the form he was in the A League last year. Arzani would with the current wing situation, Arzani would walk into our first team at the moment.
Oh, mate, our right wing, there isn't one.
He'll come straight in and start. Like that's a scary thing. So anyway, and then you got Jamesy Forrest, absolute icon of the club. He stays until his legs don't work. So yeah, we'll just start to wrap the pod up, Shane. We got a game on Wednesday against Falkirk. Yeah. 3 points or bust, basically. That's the way I look at it. There's no other potential thing, in my opinion. Like, we have to win.
Well, I said before we were probably on, and maybe Bren was on borrowed time. If we're not on borrowed time, then this is absolutely last chance saloon stuff. There's no way we can not get 3 points against Falkirk.
Let's look at it this way. Kaiser, who's sometime in the comments, would probably put Rogers in his boot and drive him to the airport if we don't get 3 points in this one. So, yeah, just looking at Falkirk's team, just a few names on there to jump off the page at you. Calvin Miller, former Celtic defender. Bainzo's in goal. and that wanker Scott Arfield in the middle of the park for them. So there's
Oh,
a few names in the park. They're currently sitting in sixth spot. Has to be 3 points on the board.
absolutely. Yeah, no, it's yeah. This isn't even anything less than 3 points, and anything. To be honest with you, anything less than a good performance. I'm not even sure 3 points is necessarily going to be enough. It'll be a start, but if we put in a dire performance and just manage to scrag a 1-0, that's not enough.
Yep, 100%. We need to bounce back from this and come out and play with a bit of, testicular fortitude. Get out there and just be the aggressors, basically. And more of this soft cock football that we've been playing. Get out there, get it on. Shane's lost it over there.
Testicular fortitude.
Yeah, ripping out that sort of comment. So there we go. So I'll wrap the pot up there. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Appreciate all of yous doing that. Give the pod a like on if you're watching on YouTube, like the video for us, please. It helps us in the algorithm. Doesn't take anything, it's an extra second as you log in, go like. Perfect, done. So as Vinny's saying, get the pot noodle into you. We appreciate it. And yeah, Shane, you got a final thought?
Yeah, just music related. If there's any Travis fans on this side of the world, Travis are making a return to Australia, first time in about 2 decades. They'll be playing
Yes.
all around Australia in January. So if you are a local listener and keen to check out Travis, they're actually playing The Man Who in full, and then they'll play some hits after that. So check it out. It'll be good to see them for the first time in about 20 years.
Perfect. My one's pretty simple. As we say down under, when you're about to leave someone, hooroo, see you next time. Hail, hail.
Hail, hail.